Hi there, this is Andrew Brody with Yokogawa's Network Solutions Group, and today I'd like to talk to you about how to configure your MW100 data acquisition system, also known as DAQMaster, or the DAQStation DXAdvanced data acquisition system for automatically sending files via FTP to Windows 7 using Windows 7 Internet Information Server, or IIS. So let's get started here. So the first thing I have set up here is I have my MW100, which is a kind of a web-based data acquisition system. So on the MW100, I've got it sitting on my network. I've already got it configured. And up here is the IP address, the 192.168.1.222. So if I were just to type that into my web browser, it would go ahead and bring up the configuration screen for the MW100. Now, to configure the automatic sending of files via FTP, I have to go over here to the communication settings. But before I go ahead and make any changes, I just got to make sure everything stops. So I could hit stop, 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 and hit apply, and away I can go over to here. So now I can actually make changes. So once I'm over here, I can go to FTP client, and these are the types of settings you're going to set up within the MW100. So first of all, you're going to enable it. You've got a choice of two servers. The first is your backup server, or is your primary server. The MW will try and send data there. If you have the second configured, if the MW is unable to send to the first, it'll go ahead and send to the second. So anyways, this is where you add in the IP address for the first unit. This is where you'd add in the IP address for the second unit. Okay, so I'm only going to deal with one here. 21 is a typical port for sending data. So kind of think of this as the IP address gets you to the building, and the port is the door that you choose to go through. So in this case, for file transfers, that's typically done through port 21. Okay, then you're going to need a user ID and password to kind of, get in through that door, so to speak. So in this case, the computer that is hosting my FTP server, IIS, is called G73, and I have a local user created on that computer, G73, called MW100. So the total username would be G73/MW100. Okay, and this is just an arbitrary username that I created. I'll show you how to create usernames in a second. Okay, then password is just whatever password I assign to that user, MW100, and then directory here. This is going to be the specific directory on the FTP server that I'm going to dump to. Now this is what's called a virtual directory. So this really has no bearing to your C drive or your D drive. I'll show you later how to actually set up a virtual directory. But right here, this /MW100 data dump, that's a virtual directory that is linked to, you could think of this as like kind of a representative name for a real physical directory, like, C:\MW100 data dump, so a real folder sitting on your hard drive. But this is just a representative name. I'll kind of show you later on how we deal with virtual directories. Okay, so that's where you'd set it up on an MW. Now, on a DAQStation, DXAdvanced, or even our MVs, you're going to have to go onto the computer, and you're going to have to, or onto the DAQStation or the MV, and you're going to have to stop recording, and then you're going to hit the menu key. Once you get the basic menu showing up, you're going to then hold the function key for 3 seconds, or at least 3 seconds. This will take you into basic setting mode. Then you're going to go under communications, Ethernet, and you're going to set up a few things in there. For security purposes, you can't get there from just the DAQ standard software, which I'm currently showing here. But what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've gone COM, receive settings. This is the IP address of my DAQStation. I don't have a password or anything set up, and I go OK, and I'm going to receive all the settings from it. So I've already made the changes on it, but I'm going to kind of show you what those changes are in the software here. Okay, so once again, you're going to go under Ethernet, you're going to go over here to server functions. You're going to make sure that FTP server is sent to use. So when you're going through that menu once again on the actual DAQStation, you're going to set under communication, Ethernet, server, you're going to set FTP to use. Okay. Then you're also going to go down to the FTP setting under Ethernet, and you're going to pick under FTP transfer file which files that you want to send. Okay. You're also going to go under primary and secondary, just like the MW100, and you only have to set up one of these servers, and I'm only going to show one in this case. But once again, you put in the IP address, you put in the port number, you put in the login name. In this case, the PC is G73, and the user account under that is MW100. And then you're going to put in a password. You can leave the rest of this defaulted. And then you're going to put in, once again, the name of that virtual directory. So /DXA data dump is what I've chose to name that virtual directory. All right. Then once you're done all that, you're going to hit enter on the DAQStation and escape out, save your changes until it goes back to kind of the regular trend screen or digital data view, and that should finish the configuration setup of your DAQStation. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that out there. All right, and we're back to the MW here. So now that our DAQStation or our MWs are set up on your end, let's take a look at what we've got to actually do on the PC to get all this to work. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to Control Panel, and you're going to need to go to Programs, and you're going to need to go ahead and turn Windows features on or off. By default, Internet Information Services is not installed. Now, you may need to have like Windows 7 Professional or Premium, or I'm running Ultimate here, but not all copies of Windows 7 will come with Internet Information Server. So what you need to do is once you go turn features on or off, you need to go down here to Internet Information Services, and make sure you turn on FTP server and all the stuff under it. You know, by default, I kind of went and turned everything on here. You don't necessarily need to turn on everything, but you got to make sure that your FTP server is fully turned on and installed. Okay, so once that's done, the next place you need to go is you need to go to User Accounts and Family Safety. Okay, and go to User Accounts. All right, in this case, I've got that. One thing when you're doing FTP is whatever your MW100 or your DAQStation logs in with, it can't be the same user ID and password that you're currently logged into that computer with. You can only have one user ID and password of the same type logged in at a time. So in this case, I'm logged in as Andrew Brody here to this computer. So my MW100 can't use the same account to log in. So I go over here to manage another account. And this is going to show me all the accounts that I've gone ahead and created on this computer. So there's me, and I've created this other one here. So to do that, all you do is you go create a new account. Give the account a name. Standard user is fine. All right. So now I've created the DAQStation. All right. Click on that. And then the only other thing you really need to do is create a password for it. And so you could go ahead and create a password for it. And now you're good to go. So you've actually created a user here now that your DAQStation or your MW100 could log in with. So once again, you know, if I was going to use this guy here, it would be G73/DAQStation is what I'd enter for user. Okay. But in this case, I use G73, which is the name of my computer, /MW100 as my user. Okay, so that's the account I'm going to be using to log in. All right, so now that we've got a user created that one of my recorders can log in with, the next thing I need to do is I need to go to Control Panel. I need to go to Systems and Security, and I need to go and Administrative Tools right here. Okay. Under Administrative Tools, if you have IIS installed, with your FTP server, you need to go down to this guy here, Internet Information Server Manager. Don't go to the 6.0, go to this one right here. Okay? All right. Now, once you open it up, if you're right here, G73, and it's showing who I'm logged in, so this is my computer, and that's who I'm logged in as, you'll get to see all this stuff here. All right? Now, the only things you really need to set up here are FTP Authentication. Essentially, go here and enable basic authentication. Okay? And then FTP Authorization. You can add rules if you want here. Okay, so in this case, under, let's see here, Sites, I've got this guy here, Test I created. If we look under this, I've allowed 2 guys to go here. To create a site, all you got to do is go add a website or add an FTP site. So this is the one you want. Add an FTP site. So you could do that under the top if you want. Add an FTP site. Test site. I'm just going to pick a directory. This is what's called the root directory. I'm just setting it as my root of my C drive here. I'm going to bind an IP address. So this is my actual network address on this computer. In this case, I've got multiple network addresses, but this is the actual network card that I'm going to bind it to, is this particular one. Okay. And I'm going to go no SSL. I'm not going to require that. Start FTP site automatically. Authentication, basic. Okay. Allow access to, I could go specified users. And then I could just type in MW100, read, write, finish. And so now if we go to this guy here, I can go ahead and take a look at it. Here's all the directories under it. I can go ahead and over here, FTP authorizations. You can see there's my MW100 guy that I'm allowed to go to. Here's my original one that I created a little while ago. Up here, this one I kind of created as my original FTP directory here. You can see that it's currently started if we take a look over on the right hand side. If I want to start up another site here, I've got to first of all stop my first FTP site because they're both using that door 21, port 21 that I was talking about. So if I go ahead and stop that guy, then I can go over here and I can go ahead and start this guy here. So when people come in, they'll be coming into this particular FTP site. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove that one for now. I'm going to go with my original one here, start. So under test, I have I have created 2 virtual directories, and you can kind of see my virtual directories. See how they got these little arrows on them? To create a virtual directory, I just right click here and I go add virtual directory. Now the reason you're going to want virtual directories is say you've got several MW100s or several DAQStations. Well, you're going to want them to be able to dump off their files to separate folders to keep everything separate. So you're going to have one FTP server, say like this computer here running IIS, but you're going to have several virtual directories, and each DAQStation or MV or MW100 will be able to drop off a file to its own virtual folder. Okay? And remember when we were kind of setting up the MW100 right here, /MW100 data dump, Well, that's the virtual directory that this particular MW100 is going to dump to. For the DAQStation, I had it set up as /DXA data dump, and that's the directory that it's going to dump to. So if we go back here and take a look, you can see here's the virtual directory, the DXA data dump that my DAQStation is dumping to, and there's the one that the MW100 is dumping to. So to create a virtual directory, you just right-click there on test, you pick virtual directory, and you could create one. So say I had an MV Advanced, and I wanted to dump some data to it. I could go ahead and create this as a virtual directory name. This alias name up here, this can be anything you want. Just be sure that you put it in here. When you go ahead and set up your directory, you go / and then whatever you chose to name your virtual directory, okay? And then this is where you actually pick the folder on your computer that this virtual directory represents. So you click on that, you go ahead, browse your drive, and I could go ahead and link it to that temp directory there. So now, whenever my MV Advanced goes ahead and dumps data to this virtual directory right here, the files are going to appear here. Okay? So I'm just going to cancel this for now. I've already gone ahead and created a couple. Okay? And if we go here, I can go Ftp Authorization Rules, and you can see who's allowed to dump to this here. You can add people, essentially add various users or whatever you've created there. Okay? So I've gone ahead and created that. I can see it's actually running. I could go ahead and stop it if I need to. Now let's see, what are some other things that we could do that might be useful here? Well, one of the things that you might want to take a look at is Ftp Logging. If you have any issues with connecting and you want to troubleshoot, you're going to want to go to Ftp Logging. Make sure that it's turned on. This is under Select W3C fields. These are all the things that can possibly log. By default, most of them are checked. I just selected them all. So for troubleshooting purposes, that's good. Okay? This is the directory that the log files are going to be dumped in. To go ahead and view your logs, you can go over here and go View Logs. Okay? It's going to take you to the folder. Click on that, and then here's the logs. Okay? You can see I've been active here, and if we go down to the bottom here, we can see the latest. And if it's like time, date stamped, the IP address, so I can see, oh, here's my MW100, here's my DAQStation, that's the address of the DAQStation, that's the address of the MW. Here's the user that was logging in, G73, MW100, okay. And then we can see a little bit about it, what it did. Okay, it went ahead, entered its password. Looks like it did a data dump, dumped a file, opened, closed the channel, store, quit, closed out the MW100. You can see here, it went ahead and dropped off this text file here. Okay, so this is going to be really good for troubleshooting connections. So for some reason, if you're not connecting, this is one of the places I'm going to look. Now, if there's nothing in here, it means that you've got some other problem. It means that your IP address that you set on your MW or your DAQStation is wrong, or some other issue. It means that it hasn't got as far as this FTP server. So things to look at are stuff like your firewall. Is your firewall blocking the connection? Are you trying to log in with the same user that you're currently logged into the PC with? Is some antivirus software blocking you out or something like that? All right, those are the things to look at. So let me kind of show you quickly one of the things that you're probably going to need to work on. And this is your firewall. So you can kind of go, let me minimize this for now. You can go Start, Control Panel, System Security, Windows Firewall, okay, Advanced Settings. By default, the Windows Firewall is going to block your FTP. So what you need to do is you need to go in here and you need to go inbound rules, new rule, port, next, TCP, that's fine, specified ports, put in 21, next, allow the connection, next, pick whether just for that domain. I'm on a small local area network, so I just go private. Public, that's kind of like if your Wi-Fi connections at a hotel or something like that. Next, give it a name. I just called it FTP. You can name it whatever you want. Go ahead and hit finish, and you're going to be good. All right. Now that PC is actually going to allow FTP connections on port 21. I've already created that, so I'm just going to close it out for now. But if I were to kind of scroll down here, here's where I created it. You're going to need to add that rule to your firewall to have any hope of this working. Okay, so let's close that out. Let's close that out. So I showed you how to create a user. I've showed you how to create a firewall rule to allow the FTP to happen. I've shown you how to set up IIS Manager to work with the FTP site. I've showed you how to take a look at the logs. Okay. I've showed you how to kind of create a little FTP site here, how to start it up, how to add users, okay, how to browse your logs, okay. So now let's go ahead and minimize that, minimize that, minimize that. So anyways, here's these virtual directories that I was talking about, and here's the actual, file folder sitting right on my computer here. So there's the DX data dump file folder. Here's the MW100 data dump folder. All right. So I'm going to go to the MW screen here. Go to the top. I'm going to go to System Setting. Okay. Keep an eye over here. All right. And I'm going to go to Status Information. And I can go here to test with my MW here. So I can go ahead and do a communication test. FTP1 will try server 1 that I've set up here. FTP2 would try server 2. I've only set up server 1, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that. I'm going to hit apply. Okay, and if everything was successful, we can now see that there's a little test file over here. Okay, and we can see that it's gone in at this time and just dump that little data file here. Okay, so let's close that out. Okay, now if I go back here to the top, if I went ahead and hit start, hit apply, so I don't have any math channel set up, so it didn't start my math. But it started my measurement, it started recording. So I'm going to let it record for a second. I've already got a DAQStation that's recording. Okay? And what happens is as soon as a data file closes out on a DAQStation, like for example, say it's set to create a new file every hour, once FTP is set up, it's automatically going to transfer the file over here. So I've had it recording for a little bit here now. So I'm going to hit the stop button on my DAQStation. And if everything's set up properly, what we should see is we should see the DAQStation dump off a data file here. So I went ahead and stopped recording on that DAQStation, and on the screen it should show that the file is being processed, the file is being transferred, and you can see it went ahead and it showed up over here. So now, if I want, I can go and open that up with my DAQ Standard Data Viewer software. So if I go Start, All Programs, go ahead down to DAQ Standard Viewer. I can drag and drop that on there, and we can go ahead and see my data. I want to take a look at it in kind of a spreadsheet mode. You can kind of see here. Here's my home office temperature, 78.1 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. You could do the same thing with the MW. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording on the MW100, hit apply. As soon as I stop the recording, eventually this is going to show stopped. It's right now posting it to the compact flash. If we watch over here, if everything was successful, we should see an MXD data file hopefully get dropped off. All right, and there is that MXD data file. I can now go ahead and bring that over to my computer. Now let me show you one trick while I'm in here. Say you wanted to forego all this FTP and you just wanted a quick way to retrieve data from the MW100 or the DAQStation or the MV. Once your unit's sitting on your network, you can just go up here. You can go FTP : whack 192.168.1.222. That's the IP address of my MW100. And now I'm going to be able to go and browse the compact flash on that guy. All right, I'm going to be able to go to, if you got multiple data folders, it just means that I've changed the configuration a few times, and every time you do the configuration change, it's going to create a new data folder. So I'm going to go to the latest, largest data folder here, and underneath that, there's my MXD file. I could literally drag and drop that now to my desktop. And there we go. So I never had to set up FTP or anything to browse directly to it. I can do the exact same thing with my DAQStation here. That's the wrong IP address there. Let me open up another one here. FTP 192.168.1.204 is the correct address. And once again, on these guys it looks a little different. Mem0 is the internal memory, drive 0 is the data drive, data 0. And once again, there's the data files, and I can drag and drop those to my desktop. Okay? So anyways, let me shrink that down. That's the directory that didn't exist. But anyways, I've showed you here how to configure an MW, how to configure a DAQStation. Remember, on the DAQStation, you can't configure it through the DAQ standard software for anything network related. You've got to actually do it on the DAQStation. Once you do that, made the changes there, saved it, you can then retrieve the changes in the configuration file with DAQ standard. You just can't make them via DAQ standard for the first time. All right, so this is Andrew Brody with Yokogawa's Network Solutions. Hope you have a great week. Take care.